Yo, what's up everyone, Sir Toby here, back with another video, and today I wanted to talk to you about Seismic Trap, why I think Seismic Trap is not dead if you cold convert, and why this is probably, or very likely, also my League starter, and talk about what was lost, what was, maybe gained in the patch, etc. So there's gonna be no gameplay for this one, just because I would have to buy all this stuff, and it's actually not possible to buy that stuff in standard or something yet, because we are relying on the 100% physical conversion from the hrimsorrow gloves that will be buffed this patch. But this has been a build that's been around there. Last league my build that I took pretty much everything but like rolled Ubers down with was at 165,000 average hit, and this POB is running a level 16 Seismic Trap, which is probably even a bit worse than what the nerf will look like. This is not an updated POB yet, so yeah, this is not like a full build guide that's gonna hold your hand throughout the entire thing, but more talking through the skill itself, and you can then use this POB to work with it on your own. So first, let's take a look at the tree. So this is like a level 94 tree. If you take away the jewel socket, it's level 90 tree. So that's pretty achievable, I think, for everyone. So just for code conversion, usually you would path down here, grab these code conversion nodes, and then code convert with these and the new glove modifiers, the unveil that gives you 35%, and then like 20 or 25% on the glove implicit. You can still do that if, for example, you need like spell suppression or something, especially later on in the league. That's probably way better than running hrimsorrow, but for Leaguestart purposes, this is probably your best option. Now, why is cold conversion so strong? The main reason is that you can use Secrets of Suffering, which give you both elemental penetration and base crit. So if you look at this, so this is a base hit of 143k, and that is without Brittle. And if we put in the new max Brittle of 6, we are sitting at a nice 100% crit, and then at like a 200,000 average hit. And if we were to Scorch for 30 as well, we would sit at 272,000. Now, the main idea, if you just start out, is to just, start out with pure cold, so you don't get the, the Scorch, but only the Brittle. And then you use the alternating Scepter with Secrets of Suffering on the Scepter implicit, so you don't even have to run the, the Jewel or anything. You get Chill and Shock from your Skitter bots, and then in your other hand, you just run another Scepter. Also with +1, and that's how you get your Brittle. Then in the rest of the gear slots, hrimsorrow is just there to convert. Deerstalkers are there to give you that extra link on your exsanguinate, just so it hits for anything pretty much. It's pretty bad damage with trap in here. At 46k, if you put in trap and mind damage, you can see that the damage goes up by a lot. Yeah, so that is that. So what you basically want to do at first is just get physical damage, convert that physical damage to cold damage, and get your Brittle that way. Once you have enough physical damage or enough ailment effect and stuff like that to consistently hit your Brittle, even if you had less cold damage, you can, instead of cold penetration, switch to where is it? Cold to fire, which then enables which it costs us at first a lot of damage, but it will enable the Scorch. So then we suddenly have even more damage. Now, to get your ailments, you have to scale ailment effect, Probably at least at first until you hit for enough. So we're using the increased effect of non-damaging ailment with crits from the crit mastery, this elemental focus node which gives you 20% of non-damaging ailments, and with those two you're looking at like 70% increased effect of non-damaging ailments, and that should probably be enough to at least get you close to capped on both of these. Now the rest of the tree is just pretty generic for a Seismic Trap, so you have the duration nodes. You're gonna get more spell suppression from these nodes here, and where's it? These nodes here. So that gets you pretty close to capped already. You might have to pick up like 1 or 2 more of these small spell suppression nodes to actually cap yourself without any spell suppression on gear. So that is something that you might have to do. So once you have these like key pieces, you can then start to transition into a tree that has a cluster jewel in it as well. And on those cluster jewels, you want to pick up a couple of things. So first you have the generic physical cluster that pretty much everyone was running, like Battle Hardened, Master of the Fundamentals, Force Multiplier. Those are just there for your just to scale your physical damage. You no longer go through here, all the way through here, stuff like that. Instead, you path straight down, take those nodes. Still path all the way up, because Hatred effect is so good, or Hatred is such a good aura that any aura effect is really, really good. And then instead, you then go for this cluster setup. And then once you can, you will pick up the Devouring Diadem, and once you have the Devouring Diadem, the build is like just fully online, and you should just be nuking bosses pretty much. Now, you're giving up a lot of defense that you used to have, even if you were... so after Diadem you can run like all the auras and then look at your damage, it's completely stupid. But at the same time you only have 3.5k life, you don't have Grace anymore, you only have Determination. But your damage is so stupid that you will nuke any bosses. That also means that, this is a pure bossing build now. This is not like a big all-round build. If you want like an all-round build, you could probably still go with something like Seismic, Poison Seismic, and you want to play Seismic, that is. But yeah, so once you have Devouring Diadem with all these like reservation nodes, and Lighten, you can then run a whole bunch of auras, which is Hatred, Determination, Zealotry, Skitterbots, and Herald of Purity. Now, to do that, because we lost the, where is it? The 15% mana reservation of skills on the Mastery, you will have to get a small cluster jewel and run something like Spiteful Presence, which again will boost your Brittle as well. So, at latest, if you have this, your Brittle should be kept, because you're then sitting at a nice like 90% increased ailment effect. Maybe at some point you might be able to drop these 2 points then too, but that's the main idea. Then you have Eldritch Battery, so you no longer spend energy mana for your skills, so you can drop. Where's my Seismic? There's my Seismic. You can drop the life tab that was in here instead of the Empower, which is a huge damage boost. And then once you have and that Empower, if you run Empower, you probably want to run something like Skin of the Lords, or the new Diala chest, or +1 Soccer gems, just Tabula, something like that, or a corrupted Skin of the Loyal, which gives then +2 to all gems as well, or even more to your Seismic, something like that. And yeah, just use Empower instead to get a lot of damage out of your Seismic, because you could only replace it with something like Concentrated Effect. I don't like Concentrated Effect on Seismic Trap, so Empower it is. And then something like Elite Penetration would technically work as well, I guess. Or, Awakened Added Fire would add a level of physical skills, but that's not that great either. So then, once you have that gear, you can either run Circles of Guild with mana reservation, and then drop something like this Anoint, which should still leave you with like 0 mana, which is completely fine. Or you drop like one of these small cluster, a couple of these small clusters, or you know, there's like a billion different ways to get your mana reservation the way you want it. You could even just run not iron rings. I had to, run boots with resistances and an amulet with resistances instead. If you get like a +2 or even +4 amulet, which is technically possible with the new crafting, then you would probably just drop your circles of guild and instead run an amulet like that. You could also just run like an old uprising, which has zealotry, has no reservation. Then you can completely drop this small cluster and you have no issues, and and even don't have to run the sovereignty thing. So or even add like another aura. So that's an option. It's like a whole host of things that you can do. There's some items in this POB as well. Like this would be like the damage option on your amulet. This one would have to be anointed with sovereignty though. So let's add that in right now. So this one would have to be anointed with sovereignty, and then you would have your mana reservation again as well. There's like a billion different ways. Congress efficiency is pretty good if you need like a tiny little bit of reservation. All those things. So in the end, or even if you like, enlighten is pretty important. But if you can't get like a level 3 enlighten, if you just get like a level 1 enlighten or level 2 enlighten, and then add something like one of those circles of guild with reservation, it still works. So there's like a billion different ways to figure out your reservation. You can 100% do it. You don't need mana anymore after you have the diadem. So yeah, but that's the way you do it. You just have to figure out your resists and the unreserved mana. You can also get more ailment effect on hypnotic jewels or on your jewel. You can get trap and mind throwing speed. So trap and mind throwing speed scales your cast rate on the seismic trap, so how often the wave appears. So you could also just still run Deerstalkers, as you can see. It's like an 8% damage boost over like generic boots, and then not run those rings if they are too expensive for you. There's like a billion different ways to run this character. It's just that the rings are technically the best damage option, for example. So yeah, that's that. So let's talk about the gear. So this insane damage here is still just with these +1 to level of all physical spell skill scepters. So these are like, you can craft these for like 5k or something, with like a recipe. So that recipe is you vendor the scepter. I don't know if your scepter has to be magic rarity or something. I think it might have to be. And then 40% total quality of physical spell skill gems. So something like an 18% explosive trap, a 16% stone golem, and like a 7%, I don't know, seismic trap. So those gems and a scepter. And then you just get a blue +1 physical skill gem scepter back. And then you would just, Aug Slam it, regal it, craft spell damage, or if you regaled on or auged on or something, spell damage, then you would just craft trap throw speed. So that's basically how you craft these like super cheap scepters. So in the notes, I also put in pretty much the gearing priority that I'm going with. So first, I'm getting hrimsorrow and Deerstalkers, just because those are like the most important pieces. Once I have that, I'm gonna get myself first the alternating scepter and then the scepter. For versions like these that are like super simple, it needs item level 2 to roll the physical spell skill gem thing. So pretty much any item level on your alternating scepter is good. The higher the better, obviously, because your Aug and Regal is going to be better, or maybe better, but you don't have to care about the item level at all for these. So that's cool. So that's the first thing I'm gonna get. Fourth is the first cluster over here with the physical skill gems. Then I would go for the Devouring Diadem, try to get my hand on a Spiteful Presence or whatever the Zealotry one is for the mana reservation at like 3 small nodes. You want the Arcane Pyrotechnics medium just to get Arcane Surge, because you can only trigger Arcane Surge from paying mana. And if you have Eldritch Battery, you're never paying mana, so you have to get Arcane Surge another way. So, you know, this Arcane Surge level 1 is what you get from the medium, and that's 10% damage, so obviously you want to do that. So that's the reason to run this medium. For the other one, you can just take what you want. This one is probably the best. As you can see, it is like a 7% DPS cluster. Notable, that's insane. If you can fit in more clusters, you also want to do that. Yeah. So after getting the Devouring Diadem, next step would be to get the Enlighten, probably a level 3 Enlighten. There should be some on the market fairly early, especially corrupted ones that aren't like super expensive, but this is going to be like your first pretty expensive one. And then in the next step, like just small cluster with reservation and Conqueror's efficiency, and then depending on how exactly your build looks at that point, if you had to get like a smaller Enlighten or something, you know, maybe a ring with a Herald of Purity reservation or something. And then as an 8th step, you want Taste of Hate. So Taste of Hate is a pretty big damage boost as well, just because it has 13% of physical as extra cold damage. So that's pretty nice to have for more damage. But it's not like central. Next you have the chest, so something like Skin of the Lords. Once you have the Skin of the Lords, you can also like put in power in here. Skin of the Lords. And then like Purity Rings. So if you can fit the rings, you know, Purity Rings or +1 and Trap Throw Speed Amulet, or you know, stuff like that. As the 8th step, then there's also like a Watcher's Eye with Zealotry or Hatred penetration technically works, so something like this. Critical strikes penetrate percent of enemy elemental resistances while affected by Zealotry would be a node. Disregard the second Zealotry mod, this one does nothing. I don't leech. And then once you have all that, your next and first really expensive step is going to be getting the extra wave enchant on your Devouring Diadem. So this is Seismic Trap releases an additional wave. So this one is going to be super expensive because I'm not sure if it's like a 50% damage boost in practice or even a 100% damage boost, but this additional wave is absolutely insane. I don't think I can stress enough how insane that one is. So that enchant is like the first really expensive piece, and once you have that, your damage is just completely nuts. And then after that, you can craft a really good scepter. I put in the way to craft it if physical first removes a random modifier and then Ox a physical mod and respects meta mods like Iceling. So that's how I understood the new Harvest craft to work. This would be how to craft one of the scepters. So you first Orc spam for +1 all spell skill gems. If it also has a suffix, you imprint, then annul it until you have +1 to all. Then you imprint, regal, annul until you have a rare base with +1 all skill. Multi-mod it with cannot roll attacks, cannot roll prefixes, and multi-mod. Then you use the Harvest Augment, then there's like 3 different outcomes. With one you have a 50-50 to save 2 divines on the multi-mod. And, you know, if it removes prefixes cannot be changed, you pretty much just have to go to the crafting bench. And then you multi-mod it, and then you can use a Redeemer Slam. So if you are interested in that, so you would alt spam on all these on an item level 80 base, then you imprint, then you regal, then you get something you don't want, so you annul it, then you get this bad mod, then you imprint again, then you regal, then you annul again, and there you have the scepter that you want. So you would then go to the crafting bench. Craft cannot roll, can have up to 3 crafted modifiers, prefixes cannot be changed, and then cannot roll attack modifiers. So that's 4 divine orbs. Then you go to harvest, slam it with a physical augment, you get the +1 all physical spell skill gems, and it should only remove one of the suffixes. So let's just annul to simulate that. So in this case, you cannot save this, so you would have to go to the bench and just remove the crafted modifiers on your crafting bench. You're left with something like this, and then you craft once again. Can have up to 3 crafted modifiers, trap throw speed, and on prefix you craft, where is it? Spell damage, and then gain percent of non-chaos damage as extra chaos damage, because we like triple dip on this non-chaos as extra chaos. So first we get the percent of non-chaos physical damage as extra chaos, then the cold non-chaos damage as chaos damage, and then we convert again to fire on half of our damage, and we once again get that as non-chaos damage as extra chaos. So, craft that, and then you can slam a Redeemer Orb, and there you have an open suffix still left. If we go to the Redeemer modifiers, you can see that there is chance to inflict exposure on hit. We don't care about that because we have Frost Bump. Cast speed, we don't care about that. It does nothing for our trap. Movement speed, if you've hit an enemy recently, we don't really care about that because, traps don't count as us having hit an enemy recently. So what we do care about is spells have chance to deal double damage, and Hatred Aura Effect, which is I think a 2000 weighting, those two mods together, versus 3.4k weighting on these useless mods. So it's like a 2 out of 5 or something, or like 2 out of 6, something like that. I'm bad at math. To get something useful here. So you would throw on this Redeemer Orb, and in this case we got lucky, got the spell steal double damage. And then if we would add this to the path of building, you would see that that is like a 30% actually damage boost over this scepter, in path of building. So these scepters, which you can probably craft for I don't know, like 12 divines plus however much your like 10 to 12 divines, and however much your however many imprints and imprints you need, and the phys slam costs. But yeah, so that would be like your last step before an actual mirror tier scepter, something like this. So yeah, again, that's in here. So I hope there's not too many questions. I hope this wasn't too rambly. I'm not sure yet if I will stream at Leaguestart for a little bit or not. But again, like 90% sure that I will be playing CoD Seismic. And again, your life is very, very low. This build basically trades having grace, so having evasion, and like 600-700 life and ghost shrouds for like absurd damage numbers. So your damage is going to be absolutely nuts. You're going to nuke everything, even with the 30% DPS nerf. Again, this is all with a level 16 seismic trap in POB. So yeah, this should be absolutely stupid still. And while getting the diadem and all that might be a little bit expensive, especially if you're on like the circles of guild, but even without those, the damage is still like 4 times as much as I used last league to kill pretty much everything. So yeah, overall this is just still completely stupid damage. Hrimsorrow are great. Once you can afford it, you can just take these like 5 points take this 40% converted to cold damage mastery and actually craft gloves that are better than hrimsorrows. So yeah, this build is basically just super solid still if you just want to deal damage and you don't care about defense. Yeah, if you care about defense, you should probably do like the poison version, which is gonna be like a fifth of the damage, but you're not going to fall over to the slightest breeze. And then if you really want to double down on damage, you can even go for something like Explosives Expert and like get even more damage on the Ascendancy. But yeah, overall, super solid. Anyways, thank you for watching. If I stream, I will put up a community post that I will be streaming. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have fun in Lake of Kalandra.